my childhood, my parents lived on the northwest side of King William Island. At that time, there was no regulations on harvesting polar bears, no tagging system. So we were able to harvest polar bears any time of the seasons, whether they were denning, walking in the summer or any time. We used to hunt according to our natural laws per season and in tune with the environment and migratory routes. Every polar bear that was spotted was harvested. You are lucky to see one. Because of our natural law, they were scared of us. Everything was harvested, nothing was wasted. 5 bears would feed both people and dogs.
However, Canadian Wildlife Service managers found themselves increasingly concerned over what they perceived as wasteful overhunting practices by Inuit. Using caribou and polar bear meat as bait or to feed dogs or only for their skin was interpreted as a lack of self-control and a primal desire to kill. Such concerns resulted in a meeting of circumpolar Arctic nation representatives in Fairbanks, Alaska in 1965. During that meeting, the polar bear was declared as in danger of extinction. In 1967, a quota on hunting polar bears was put in place, and the hunt of large male bears encouraged overhunting females as to secure a future population. Polar bears in the Mackinac Channel are hunted by the communities of Tullyalloch, Gjoa, and Cambridge Bay. This population of bears was first surveyed as part of a larger study between 1972 and 1978. The estimate for the combined Mackinac Gulf of Boothia population was 1,081 bears, but this was adjusted to 900 for each of the populations to compensate for the known biases of non-representative sampling methods used for this research. After consultations with our local Inuit hunters, this number was reduced from 900 to 700.
Back in the day, our ancestors were hunting from the Mackinac Channel, and there's always been a lot of polar bear around that area, even today.
Later, the government of Nunavut acknowledged some logistical difficulties with the survey and suggested that their original upward revision to 900 perhaps had set the stage for the problem we are seeing today. A new study of the Mackinac population was initiated in 1998, and early results were not encouraging, as researchers were having difficulty finding enough bears. By 2000, Government of Nunavut biologists were presenting a revised estimate of 367 bears. It was clear that there had been a dramatic decline in this population, if indeed the original survey was accurate. It was also clear that the current quota of 32 bears was not sustainable. As a result, the polar bear quota in Mackinac Channel was reduced to 12 bears in 2000, followed by a complete moratorium in 2001.
When the moratorium was put in place, many people were unhappy because they were effectively treated as kids. The Mackinac Channel has always had an abundance of polar bears, even today.
The community most affected was our community of Gjoa, since we have no alternative population from which to harvest. In the end, the Gulf of Boothia increased their quota for that population to make 3 tags available to us in Gjoa. But this means that our hunters have to travel outside of our familiar and traditional hunting grounds, which is neither financially feasible nor helping in passing on our knowledge of the land towards our younger generation of hunters.
When a young hunter goes off to the Gulf of Boothia for polar bear hunts, The parents and elders get worried because they don't have the proper knowledge of the area. There are totally different ice conditions in the Gulf of Boothia. They have very high and low tides and the ice breaks easily. Boothia is not our area. We might as well go to China. At the time, there were elders that were opposing the moratorium of the Muckintock Channel. They were promised compensation if they would hunt in the Gulf of Boothia. Gasoline, groceries, and supplies. But as of today, I know that nobody ever got the help they were promised. The agreement was not written, it was all verbal. The Inuit system treats the verbal as written. Your word and my word is taken as true. But as of today, there are no funds.
Evaluating different harvest strategies using the newest computer modeling programs like Riskman and a target population recovery goal of 750 bears led to a new suggested quota for Mackinac Channel of 3 tags annually. In 2005, the communities of Cambridge Bay, Gjoa, and Tulloch were all invited to sign an MOU for this new quota.
At the time, Jonathan Hickenick was our HTO chairperson who signed the MOU. He was told if he didn't sign, we would be left with nothing. The only way you are going to get polar bear is one per year. The other year, two. You share it with Cambridge Bay. He was given no choice.
Tulloch representatives didn't sign the MOU and didn't receive any tags from the Mackinac population, retrieving their full quota from the Gulf of Boothia population from that point onwards. Cambridge Bay and Gjoa signed for an alternating amount of a single and dual annual tag starting in 2004 till 2014.
We're penalized for the gender of the bears we harvest today. There's lots of bears out there, and now on top of that, they give us some selective harvesting. 3-1. Inuit lives are in danger today. We were never afraid of the polar bear. But now today they are chasing us. We are forced to do defense kills. Our relationship with the polar bear has changed, both to the hunt and to the polar bear. The bears don't fear us anymore because we can't hunt them, because we are unfamiliar with the land. Plus, our younger generation no longer is able to recognize the sex of the polar bear after we have not been able to hunt for such a long time.
Overall, the low amount of available tags have also led to a significant loss of direct and indirect income. A loss of skill across gender in terms of hunting skills and skin preparations, as well as cultural sustenance.
During the first years of our moratorium, we had a lot of customers for sports hunts, but we didn't have any tags. When polar bear tags were reduced, we had to find other work, like sport hunt for muskox and caribou. It's frustrating because at the time of the moratorium, the government was promoting sports hunting and our tags would have been worth more. We had no tags in the best time. It's not only the hunter would have made a profit with the hide, or if it's a sports hunt, they could have had some income by harvesting the polar bear. It also affects our ladies because they no longer can prepare and scrape hides after this moratorium was put in place. There's a certain way to clean polar bear hides that's also educational for the younger generation, just by watching how the skins are prepared. Back in those days, our ancestors harvested polar bears because they liked the meat of the polar bear. Today, elders crave for polar bear meat because it's part of their diet. Everybody knows females are more tender. Hunters that are no longer with us today, they knew how to read the unfamiliar conditions of the ocean around them and recognize dangerous areas. We were told that the moratorium would be only for 3 years, but for 20 years now, we've hardly had any polar bear tags. As of today, it's always ongoing and they never seem to get results out of research. At the time when they were doing research with aerial surveys with the helicopter, this type of research never did help. It didn't help the Inuit at all. In the future, I'd like to see research that is actually going to make a difference for us. Any research that is applied on us always comes back negative. We've never had a positive outcome of any research so far. Gjoa is seeking recognition. We want these voices of thunder to echo everywhere. These stories should finally come out. There are 2 generations lost and millions of dollars in sports hunting. We want everyone to hear us. We're tired of waiting. We seek acknowledgment and apologies for suffering the consequences of the quota regulations, a loss of culture and knowledge, as well as increased danger due to rising number of polar bears around our communities. Inuit knowledge in terms of accuracy and inherent values needs to be recognized and better acknowledged. We want better integration of Inuit knowledge in survey research, like for example accounting for seasonal changes. Scientific monitoring surveys have limitations. We ask that researchers will recognize and take Inuit observations more seriously. An acknowledgement of all of the above should, as a result, lead to increased quota for the region.